Alright, so that was recording.
Stuff on the table.
Record this one as well.
In the air room will do.
Yeah. So this first film is just literally setting things up. I'm moving around so the audio might jump around a little bit from here and there, but hopefully between all the cameras you'll get an idea of what's going on. It's not meant to be professional film or anything like that, it's just a real loose film. I'm going to show you the camera angles. So we've got this one, we've got an overhead here, and we've got a close up of my hand there. So hopefully between the three of the angles you'll get a good gist. I'm going to leave that overhead, I think, at the moment. So Dave's just plugging stuff in at the moment. Basic stuff, laptop power, and then the Novation keyboard into the laptop. I'm going for like my simplest. Yeah, it's right, it's live, it's how it's going to happen.
Yeah, so happen with this.
The doggy's in it. Bert's come into the film. You can't really see Bertie, but Bertie's probably in that shot and he's sniffing a guitar. Bertie's literally playing the guitar. Well done, Bert. Now, I haven't got any treats for Bert, as you can actually see. This is a better film of Bert than it is of the guitar at the moment. So now we're just putting in the power source for the Bella platform, and then we plug in from the little black box Bella platform into the laptop. I'm literally going for the simplest setup today. Sometimes I would add another sort of MIDI controller. You can see my white pen is here. I'd put another MIDI controller here if I wanted to. Yeah, Dave's going to just pop it in front of the camera. That's just another controller I can sometimes use if I'm doing something a bit more complex with like the faders, maybe the strings. I'm doing something odd with the strings like effects, or I'm doing lots of pedals and stuff, so I'd use that. So yeah, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop the film because we're set up. The next film will be pretty much me setting up before I wear the guitar. But everything's set up. The table is set to 56 centimetres. I've got my Novation keyboard and everything's set up there. Sorry, it's a bit sunny. It's a sunny day here in Wimbledon. Hooray! So that's the first bit of the film done. Alright, see you in a bit. Welcome back to part 2, and the reason I'm recording this is I'm hopefully going to manage a screen recording at this point. So there's like a third camera. That's the wrong one. You can tell I'm professional. Professional all levels. Yes, that's the overhead one. So I've got the laptop going, and we'll just do a bit of a test here. The screen's gone off. That's because the laptop was on 1% battery. You're an idiot. Right, I'm going to get Dave to... I can type in my password, but I'm absolutely knackered, so I'm asking Dave to help me. Oh, he's done it. Weird. Right, so I'm hoping we're going to do a short one here just to see what happens. Right, hopefully I'm recording the screen and you can see my mouse moving around. First little thing I always do is I've got a little app that keeps all the screens open for me called Coffee Buzz. So I do that. As you can see here, I've got my root folder on my desktop at all times. And here I've got my chord book, JSON file, and the songbook. And then I've also got the Ableton project that's saved. So rather than doing a project on each song, I just do one project and work within that project for the whole set. I only make new projects if I'm doing some major changes to the MIDI setup, to the way I lay things out. So I tend to run off the most recent one here, album 21, and then this is my chords, which is just a JSON file, and as you can see that's just the A's, all the A chords you can see there. I've got the root file, the major file, all the extensions and all the variations that you can have. And then down the bottom I've got, you can see where it says custom, and I can write some custom chords for each chord as and when I want. The thing to just be aware of on this is that usually the strings would go, you know, the top string is the 6th string, and you'd think that was the 1st string, the lowest string, but actually they're the other way around. So that's the 6th string, 5th string, 4th string, 3rd string, 2nd string, 1st string. So they're the other way around in the chord book, and that would be one quirky thing I would like to get right in version 2. So that's the chord book, and they've got every single chord you can imagine, plus some new ones to invent at a later date. And then the songbook is just, you know, the bit I don't know is in the Max for Life patch. These all kind of interconnect and link. And that's the gobbledygook, the mystery of the Kellycaster that I don't quite understand. But what I do know is the chord file links to the songbook, and that all goes into the Max for Life patch. And then the Max for Life patch is where I do all the magic. So I'm going to go back to my overhead shot and carry on with go back to the screen cast. I'm hoping this is working. So I'm going to close that down, that's there. And the songbook is much more specific, so I take the different chords and then I create a whole songbook with all my songs that I use. And actually I could probably do a book per set, but I just keep bunging them in. So I think I've got something like 140 odd songs in this particular songbook. So, and every now and then I do a backup. You see the bellas running there, so that's all good news. So I'm going to stop there and see if the screen recording is working okay. Be back for part 3 soon. Okay, welcome back. to part 3, and this is possibly the bit I'm most anxious about, because there are so many variables and ways to describe this. And one of the things about the Kellycaster that's really important is that everything that I do can be done in more than one way, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to go for it and share with you the very basic runaround. If you've got questions, just email me and drop them in the chat or wherever we're having conversation, and we'll do it this way. I hope this screenshot will help. What I'm doing is a kind of an all camera one like that. I hope that helps, because you've got a bit of the overhead, you've got a close up of my hand, which will be down here, like that, the pointer, and also the overhead shot. So I'm going to now go to my screencast and load up the software and just see what happens. So I hit this, live Ableton, it's live 10 at the moment, scared to do an update for fear of mucking things up. Wi-Fi is always off. So what I do, so you remember on the desktop I've got the project, and then within the project in Ableton you have sets, and my most recent set is Purcell, which was a gig in 2022. But actually you can see I've got loads of different sets. It takes a bit to load up because obviously it's an old laptop. That's what you just saw flash up there was the acoustic plugin, which is a contact, and everything is up and running. So first thing I always need to make sure, obviously, is that the audio routing in the preferences is going to the headphones, and you can see there it is. So that's all fine, no problems. So where we're at the moment is very, very much, I'm not even rehearsing yet. This is really just making sure everything works before I start rehearsing a song. Usually it only takes me a matter of minutes to do it. Yeah, so what I do usually is I go down here to the play selection button, and that just gives me a tester without anything being plugged in as to whether or not the Bella software is working and the Max for Live software is working. So I make sure that's on, and I've just pressed it with a mouse this time, but as I said to you, lots of things are done in different ways, so I can turn it on and off. I've mapped it to this C# button, so you can see it going on and off there. And I always map these different depending on what my mood is and what I'm doing and what's going on. This was set for a gig, so I didn't want too much busyness with the keyboard. What I don't want to do is accidentally knock something during performance. So what I'll do now is I'll press that and I'll just see if it's making a sound. And it's not. And that's because what I've forgotten to do is to actually turn the guitars on. So each string has got a track. The Kellycaster's got a track to itself, which I guess routes to the software, and then track 8 is my electric guitar plugin, and as you can see it's muted down there, and that's why it wasn't playing. So I've got that mapped to a button here on the keyboard, so I can do it very fast. When I'm playing live, I swap between the electric and the acoustic plugin quite fast, and often in the middle of a song I might have that. So this is just the acoustic, so I'll just hit a button and I can hear that's working. I might turn that off and turn the electric guitar on, and I can tell that that's just a clean Ableton guitar without any of the iconic Kellycaster sounds. The next thing I've got is 3 screen views. One is obviously the main screen, which I always map to this F sharp. G sharp jumps to my electric guitar plugs, and as I said to you, these are all off, you can see, because there's no yellow light on them. These 2 that are closed are my don't touch. This is the perfect Kellycaster on its own, kind of what I use all the time. And I mapped it to a G, and they're on, and you'll hear the sounds different. There you go. And that's the sound I'm always looking for. When I do a sound check, anything, that's what we want. I don't do any other plugs, anything like that. What I have done is I've mapped out all my pedals basically into these 4. So for this gig I just needed 4 pedals, so you can see I'm switching them, different sound. Different sound. Dirty. Just really weird, glitchy stuff, but I quite like every now and then. There's a bit of a glitch going on there, but you get the idea. That's how that all kind of works. So I'm going to whack that off for now. Oh, I know why, because the wah-wah was on. You can sort of see over here, I've got the wah-wah mapped as well. So that's why that was making that funny glitchy sound. But for now, we'll just go back to the acoustic guitar. I've just kind of got one, and I don't muck about with it. Again, it's the one I like, it's the one I use, and it suits all my songs. There are hundreds, but beautiful and simple is what I like. So, yeah, so that's how it works. Those are the plugins, so just make sure they all work. And as a golden rule, what I tend to do is I'm concentrating now on how I lay the chords out for a song, and as you can see I've got a bank of 10 there, so I'm just going to concentrate on the first sort of 5 or 6 and sort of show some of the rationale, which essentially, when I'm playing my root chord for a song, the key I'm in, chord 1 if you're a jazzer, is always, I put it to D onto that button, the D on the novation. It's actually playing a G at the moment. So that's chord 1. And then if I wanted to do a sus 4th on the G, I always use the button that's next to it, which is the C. So I could just roll my hand onto it, often it's a very quick change. And then as I progress through the song, I might, you know, I might go from 1 to 4 to 5, 1 to 4 to 5. Yeah, and that's like, you know, your G, C and Ds. If I want my suspendeds and my fourths, I tend to put that in a place where I can reach it quickly, and that works really well. So it doesn't make any sense to anyone other than me, but it maps out chord 2, which is actually number 3, 4, 5, 6, which is actually 9, because actually it's the 6th in the song, 7th, which is number 10, and then it goes back, because for some reason I always remember that that is in the jazz sequence, that's always the E minor, so the 2, so 1, 4, 5 and the 2, so that's the F sharp. Yeah, but it's actually playing the E minor. This doesn't make any sense if you're not into music, but if you're into music, you'll kind of get the gist. This is where you just need to know a little bit of music theory, and it all works. And then I can map this out. I mean, if I was doing this and someone was just learning, I would just map 1 to 10, and you could do that. But songs don't do that. Songs jump around, and you know, I might need G chord every change, you know, whatever. So that's essentially what I do. Is I will load the song up. I'm going over to the screenshot now, and here's my songbook, and like I said to you, there's all my songs. And let's just for argument's say north and south, and what you'll have probably noticed is it says north and south there. I can change the songs by using these arrows, but also during a set I don't have to move around too much, so I can actually do them also by using this C and D. I've mapped them again. If I go to the screenshot, you can see just pressing those two, I'm changing the songbook. Yeah, does that make sense? And then for this one, north and south is in the key of A, so I hit my first position. That minor I was talking about, which is usually the second chord. So, and I'm really happy with that. And then I would probably change maybe over to the electric to give it a bit of something different. And I'm just testing it out at the moment, making sure the chords are in the right place and where I want them to be. I can map them out, I can change them. Yeah, this is all still in the testing phase. Way before I've even started playing, but it literally takes me a couple of minutes to do this. Some quick tips I can transpose with these buttons here. I'm going over to the screenshot again. When I'm ready to play the guitar, I make sure this button is switched off. These next things are about string behaviours. And these are things I've learned from like Dave, who plays guitar. Some of the things you need to be able to do with the guitar. So this boogie down the bottom, what that does is when you're hammering on and off, but you want to stay in the key of A, but you want to do those embellishments, this button keeps the strings open, but closes the string that needs to do your little pinky. So if I'm doing a rock and roll set, I'm going to demonstrate it now with you. So I'm just going to put 3, 4 and 5 as an A chord, and I'm going to call that, I've called it blues because they're blues chords, A and blues chord 2, and I only use this button here for this kind of playing when I'm doing a rock and roll kind of thing. I'll whack this one off. And again, I often have these mapped on the keyboard. I might have one of these buttons up here just so that I can do that. Yeah, but I've got to have that on so you can hear it. So you can sort of hear. It's keeping the essential bit of it open, and I'm hopping around, but it's keeping the strings that need to stay open. Another behaviour that these buttons do, I'm going to turn that one off for a minute. I'm going to turn this. So what this button does is, what we noticed is if all 6 strings weren't cleanly pressed from one chord to another, they were staying open, and you don't always want that. So let me go to another song. Let me just jump back to there. And what you notice sometimes was, if you weren't hitting all 6 strings, one chord would bleed into the others. Now sometimes that's really nice and you want that, but sometimes you want the chord to stop and cleanly change to the next. So I use this button, and I just know what songs that works with and it doesn't work with. So on this one, if you look carefully, I'm stopping the chord completely. Yeah, it's jumping cleanly from one chord to the next, rather than keeping all the strings open and blurring in between one and the other. So the only other thing on this set of buttons for chord behaviours that I need to explain is the mute one. And this is, again, as you know, when I drop my hand onto the strings, it can mute all the strings. So I get that staccato sort of chap, chap. But just if I'm knackered, I can put this onto a button and turn it on and off very quickly while I'm playing. What I tend to do actually is put it down on this C, but I haven't mapped it to that for now. So for now, I can just whack it on like that, and what you'll hear is the strings are playing still, but they're mute. And one of the ingenious things that we did is this volume button I can make the mute, that dampen even just a little bit longer, so I can get it to the right sort of BPM for the song. But I would only do that after like a load of rehearsal with the band or Dave or whatever. So it just sort of feels right. I usually keep it quite short as a mute. And then what I can do is, if I'm going to literally, I think I'm going to do it just so it makes sense. Yeah, let's do it. So let me just work out where I currently have. Okay, so at the moment this is mapped to chord 1, and I want to take it off there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the MIDI settings. I'm on the screen here. I'm going to take the MIDI off there for now, and obviously I'll remap it to another key, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to highlight that, and I'm going to say I want this C down here to work that. So we might be playing a bit of a song, and I want it to sound like that, and then I want it open. Yeah? And then I want them damped. Yeah? Does that make sense? Hope it does. Open. Closed. Yeah. So I kind of, if there's quick changes, I try and keep all the keys close together, because most people don't even notice my hands moving, because I've got small moves, and that's it. That's kind of what this little box does here. I'm going back to the screen. That's these 4 little buttons. That's what they do. These buttons are so that I can, one of the other ways I can navigate is by tabbing along, you know, like when you press a tab. So I can move all these to move the box. Can you see the red button? The lights are moving. So I can focus and I can change each embellishment. That's to M, that's a F sharp minor. So I can add all my embellishments like that just by tabbing if I want to. But I could also do it this way by dropping down. Let's just say I'll make that a major for now. Yeah, that's now an F sharp major. So I can do each chord very quickly like that, or I can do these buttons here. I can also transpose a song by doing these, and by these ones I can map them differently. This moves the whole chord, this moves the song. So that's what they do. This goes to my songbook, and these relate to the JSON file in terms of what's being read. And then I press store if I want to add a new song. And that's that. So let's just get rid of that now. These relate to each of the strings, and again these was kind of need a little bit more working on. They don't work properly. But this was so that I could, while I'm playing, I could change each string note and see what it sounded like. And you can see it's just changed to an F3 rather than an E3. So E's the note, and 3 I think is where it is on the, I've lost my words for a minute, fretboard. So that's E3 on the fretboard. And I can change them this way. And then this was so I could save it very quickly if it was a chord I liked. But it doesn't quite work, so it needs a little bit more work. But that's all about being able to improvise. These buttons are really important. And they're more to do with when the strings are playing. So at the moment, when I'm playing the keyboard, it hits them all 100%, and you can see they're all 100%. When I'm playing with the strings on the Kellycaster, which I'll get on next, I'll just show you that the string sensitivity works with the Kellycaster. This is, everything's hitting at 100% velocity. And that really... Oh, Bert.
Sorry.
Did I hurt him?
No.
Oh, I didn't hurt him, he just barked at me. Thank God. The only other thing I want to tell you is I've got a volume control over here, and I map them up here so I can move the volume, you can see, just with these, because often when we're playing live I need to knock it up or knock it down a little bit. And I think that's everything on the Maps for Live patch to explain how I do stuff. It really is a matter of getting all that in your head and then practicing each song, because it's an instrument and it takes ages to get used to it, so that when you play live you're literally just, okay, play my song, next song, change the song. It's Fisherman's Blues, and I'm straight onto it. Well, I wish I was a fisherman. Yeah, next song, and we're into it. Choices and rights. Choices and rights. Choices and rights. There you go. So each song, it's there, and I can just jump around in the set, play it, change the pedals with these buttons here very quickly, and it's all sweet. That's it in a nutshell. I'm going to stop part 3 because it's been the longest section. Okay, so just want to thank Dave Del Cid for all his patience with this afternoon's filming. It's taken us quite a while, but hopefully you get the gist of the guitar. What I want to show you in this final, what part are we on? Part 4? Part 4. Just a little note for the musicians amongst you. When I said E minor was
The 6. Minor
6, it's actually 2.
No, it's the other way. It's
the other way round.
Yeah.
So 1, 4, 5 is G, C, D. 6
is E minor.
Would be your E minor. Okay, for all you jazzers, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And the A minor would be a 2, obviously.
Yeah,
What a wally. But you know what I mean. So yeah, so I map it 1, 4, 5 and 6, so that I've at least got those basic chords, and then obviously it goes crazy. I've obviously got my guitar on for this last shoot, because what I want to show you now is on the screen share. Before we stopped the film, obviously all the strings were hitting at 100%. This time they're all doing different levels depending on my strength of hitting the strings. Yeah, does that make sense? So that's that. And what you can see is the red and the blue. And the red is what I'm actually hitting, and the blue is what I'm giving it in terms of a boost. So I get all the strings roughly the same, and I can adjust that by using these dials. So before I do a gig, depending on my strength, I use those. It's my equivalent of tuning up. And now I'm ready to rehearse. The guitar works, it's all plugged in, and it's all set, so I can there you go. I hope this has helped to explain some of how the Kellycaster works. A lot of practice, sweat and tears. I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks to Dave for his patience. Be lucky. Thanks for watching.